back to another edition of Competitive Edge Podcast. So today I'm fortunate because my friend Kendra Cooke, many of you might know if you've been in Nashville for any sort of time, you're in the real estate industry, mortgage, you've probably seen when she built not only her large team here in Nashville, back in the days of Crylike and other teams that she built, and then moved into core coaching and built one of the largest coaching organizations over there, is coaching real estate agents, mortgage professionals, and a lot of ballers that I know in the industry, and then now into a new chapter. Check this out. We're going to talk about her book and dive into that. But she's speaking, coaching, training, doing all the things I believe God has uniquely gifted her with and her experience. So today, I'm going to tell you, you're going to learn a lot of things about not only entrepreneurship. Many of you want to grow your business. You want to speak on stages. You may want to train and coach. And you're wondering, how do I get into that game? Well, we're going to take you back to a little bit of what Kendra's accomplished. And all I say is results will precede all of the big opportunities. And so you're going to hear that in her story and probably some of your story in it and learn how you can do bigger things, not just in this year, but in other areas of your life. So Kendra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be home and see you. We were trying to figure out how long we've known each other. It's a long time.
Long time. Over 10, 15 years plus.
Right.
We're going back to the days where you had your real estate team. I'll never forget coming in your office. And I do remember one time because I came in and I was so nervous. I was like, I'm going to call on this big team. I'm still producing. I'm like, how do I get a meeting with Kendra and her team? And I remember we met and I was like, hey, she's really awesome. We connected on faith, family, all the different areas that are there. But people that may not know your story, let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
To that season of life and how you got into really even real estate, because I think about that of when you got in, the markets you went through and everything you've done. A lot of people probably want to know, how did you get to where you are, but where'd you start?
Well, I moved here in 1988, thought I was going to be a law student, and before school got placed in a real estate office as a receptionist at 18.
Oh, wow.
So 18 at the front desk all the way to 2017. I was not 18 anymore, and built my own brokerage and then ended up selling it. But through that journey, spent about 8 years working for a top producer, and we talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
And so I got a PhD in real estate before I was licensed. So everything from originating mortgages, I could write insurance, I could close it, do the title work on it. I did everything. I was a one-stop shop for a big producer. So he saw something in me I didn't see. I thought I was going to be an attorney, and he changed my mind. And so from there, got licensed and was I call it a sole proprietor, if you will. Yeah. And started getting myself in trouble, couldn't wear all the hats, and everybody has glass ceilings. So hired my first employee, did it all wrong. Wait till the water's in your nose, not up in it, but at the bridge of it. And you got to hire the wrong person and you don't train. So went through all of those struggles and eventually really built an amazing team and was able to open my own brokerage, sell over 300 houses a year, and did a lot of new construction. Actually, I had breakfast on a piece of property in Rutherford County that I sold when it was dirt. And there was just like a 2-lane road. Now there's a 4-lane road and all these houses. And so I was reminiscing with that at that time this morning and breakfast with a friend. And so, 30 years here. So
that's awesome. And 300 homes. I mean, people are listening to this, and we know where the real estate market is. I saw a stat this week. I think it's Keller Williams Family Reunion. They had the stat, it's going to be the third greatest real estate market, actually, in the last 20 years. And I thought, wow. But to sell 300 homes, I do want to go back. You said that your leader saw something in you didn't see.
Yeah.
And they often see that. So this is always a leadership tip. What did you learn through that? What did they see, and what did you learn in that season that maybe helped you then have success later?
I think that I didn't have any fear. I think fear came later in life. When I was younger, I would try anything. Like I moved to Nashville with, $650 in my pocket and no GPS and no cell phone. So people listening to this, they're like, wait, you just drove across from Illinois to Tennessee, but 3.5 hours, get on the road as an 18-year-old kid with cash, no credit card, no debit card. Wow. So, no fear, right? Yeah. And so I think that the leader that I give a lot of credit to, I name him in the book because he did see something in me, and it was, he would say, I want you to read this book and, adopt this, or I want you to create a checklist, or, I want you to research this. And I just didn't have any fear around it. So I had to do what I had to do to pay my bills. And so I think that he saw a can-do attitude, number one. Super hard worker. I was raised by my parents who are both extremely hard workers, both 79, still work every day. My dad's a farmer. My mom still works at a title company here in Nashville. So I was raised by really hard workers. Yeah. So I would say, not fear of failing at that time. I got that later in life when, society gives us all of that. But, hardworking, and then just can-do attitude, right? I think that as we're younger, we don't worry about what other people think. That comes as success and age and all the things, right?
Yeah, I think about that too. Like most of us in our career, like when we're early, like there's nothing really that we think we'll just try that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any different yet, and time goes on. And I would encourage anybody listening, if you're in that season, I know it's happening in mortgage and real estate right now. People are fearful, they're worried, they hear the news, rates, anything in the market. They're like, I gotta try to have it all figured out. I can't fail. And it's like, man, anybody I know that's successful and like what you've done, you failed forward, as they like to say. And as you look back, when you were selling 300 homes, I always wonder this, is there are things that now that you've coached all these people now, so You've seen it from the other side. Is there anything you would have done differently going through that season now that you've coached and seen this vantage point?
Oh, there's a million things.
We want to know.
I'll give you a few.
Yeah.
Number one, relationships matter, right? And so learn to attract business versus chase it. And so I spent years and years of chasing business. I'll do billboards and I'll do moving trucks and I'll do shopping carts, throwing money at bad leads, right? Yeah. Looking back, I say this jokingly all the time when I speak, but it's true. What made me think that somebody going 80 miles an hour down the interstate was going to get my phone number off the billboard and call me? That was a terrible idea, right? But I didn't know what I didn't know. So one of the best lessons I would say is relationships matter. So learn to attract good relationships and good people to refer you and help you grow your business versus chasing bad leads or throwing money at bad ideas. That would be number one. Number two, I would have hired sooner. It about cost me my marriage. I talk a lot about that in the book, the things that I've done wrong, because I do feel like failing is not failure. It's not final, right? I should say failure is not final. We struggle with failing because we're like, oh my gosh, our life's over if we fall short or we fail at something. And the truth of the matter is I learn more when I fail than I did when I succeeded.
That's right.
And so I wish I would have hired sooner. I had a big ego, which a lot of us do as our careers take off. And I thought nobody wants to talk to somebody else. They only want to talk to me and they only want to work with me. And when the ego went away and I was able to see that I could hire people that could do things that I wasn't as good at, it gave me more time to be in relationships and grow my business. So those are a couple things that I wish I could have done differently. But I learned a lot from those, and I'm able to help people now not have fear around hiring and failing and finding good relationships.
Mm-hmm. Man, those two, actually, as you were sharing them, I thought those were things coaches taught me in the last decade. And you talked about the ego piece and all the things there. Like we just think we can do all these things. Nobody can do it better than us. And so you're talking about that second one of like hiring somebody great. And we got Brittany helping us today and all that. And I'm going, man, had I not hired some of the right people along the way and tried to do it on my own, never would have gotten there.
Right.
And I had a recruiting coach actually share with me. Richard was sharing, he's like, man, do you ever feel like you're just chasing people? Like you're like begging them to come work there? And I remember going, yeah, and I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, we gotta start attracting people. And I'm like, what does that mean? So for people listening, I'd love to break this one down and get your insights because I've been learning on this journey and I always love to learn more. Is somebody listens to that, like, okay, attracting versus chasing. What would that mean today in like real estate and mortgage for them of how they can start to attract people versus, the old days of like calling leads, calling people cold all the time. Like we're just hustling on cold leads that a lot of times don't go very far.
I think a couple things. Givers gain.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that when we give great knowledge, we give great experiences, we're giving something away where people want to refer you or be in relationship with you. The other thing that I would say is be a good connector. Like you and I know each other. We just met someone in the front, figured out a connection. And I think we get fearful of, oh my gosh, I'm going to hoard all of my contacts and all of the people that I'm in relationship with. I don't want to share those. And I want to be known as the connector. You and I were just talking. We have my coach is somebody who was on your podcast recently, and we didn't realize that we all knew each other until we all came together. And I love connecting other people. And I think that, again, when we take the ego out and we're open-minded to growing and helping other people succeed, it helps us succeed as well, And I heard a long time ago, if people come back to you to to work with you again. A repeat client, realtor, lender have a repeat client come back. It's because they enjoyed the experience, right? They had a good experience. But when they refer you, they trust you. So I want both of those things. I want to create a good experience, but I also want people to trust me, that my word is my bond. If I tell you something, I mean, I'm going to die trying to make sure that that happens. And I'm known that what my name stands for is something positive.
Hey guys, it's Brian here. I hope you are enjoying the show. By the way, if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur looking to grow your personal brand, make a bigger impact, maybe increase your leads and grow your revenue, let's help you get started today by connecting up with my friends over at the Brand Builders Group. You've heard me talk about them, but if you're new here, this is definitely the first step to get you started in turning your reputation into revenue. Head over to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey. Again, to set up your free brand call, go to freebrandcall.com/Brian Covey to set up a free strategy call with one of the team at Brand Builders, and they will dive into your specific goals for how you want to grow your personal brand. I can't wait to hear how it goes. I love that. And your reputation, I always think about, you had so many people, and you sell 300 homes. I just go back to that. Like when people think about results, and it's like in any period of your time to do that much, you had to be building relationships. You had to be attracting in people that are there. And I often think about this too, is then you decided to transition out of this.
Yeah.
And you're successful in this one world. And I think a lot of us, we just create this identity. And it's like, this is what we are. This is what we do and all that. And then you move into coaching, which seemed like a very natural fit. For those of us that know you, were like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you go do this and all that? Tell me about that season in your life of then shifting and becoming like somebody that I know, like everywhere I would go, they're like, oh yeah, we know Kendra. Oh yeah, she's coaching us. Oh yeah, she's over here. And you touch so many lives and so many people in that role. What was the transition like? And why did you want to get into that side of the business?
It's a great question. So I realized that I did not have all the answers. And so when I hired a coach, absolutely changed my life. The coaching company changed my life. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't have a financial background. I was not keeping up with my money, all the things, working too many hours. And so I saw my life change, my business change, and for the better. And so I thought, you know what, I should pay that forward. So after being a student for several years, I was asked to come on as a coach. So I still had my real estate team here, and I coached part-time for them. And my mentor retired. And so the owner of the company came after me and said, hey, we want you to move to Charlotte and help us grow this real estate division. And I was like, I'm going to retire at 50. What are you talking about? Yeah. And the conversation progressed, and I ended up taking the job. And really the factor was my husband and I was very torn. And back to the ego, as many years later, after thought I'd let my ego down and moved away from that, I was still concerned about what people would say about me when I was gone. Like, she couldn't make it in real estate. And I'm like, wait, you've been here for 30 years. Haven't you arrived? Yeah. Can't we let that go? And so my husband said, okay, let's take 3 days and let's fast and pray about it. And day 2, he came to me and he's like, I don't need to fast anymore. I'm eating. And I got the clarity, and I'm like, well, what is it? And he said, you know what? Every athlete wants to go out on top. And you just had your biggest year in real estate, 363 houses in 365 days. And he said, what do you have to prove? Mm-hmm. He said, do you want to do this again? I was like, no, it was, HELL on earth. I felt like after going through that year, it was one of the toughest years. It was great financially, but I was broken, right? Yeah. And my team was broken. And he just said, what else do you got to prove? Go out on top. And that was just a mind shift for me. It was like, it doesn't matter. I don't need to be a people pleaser anymore. Yeah. And I knew walking into that building that I would change more lives coaching than I ever changed in real estate. I knew no one would stand over my grave and say, she sold my house in 48 hours. But people say to me all the time, you saved my marriage, or you helped me from, ruining my credit by filing bankruptcy. I was one step away from that. Or, wow. I have a rock star team and I got my life back, or, anything like that. And I feel like that is really my purpose, is to change the world one person at a time. And if I can do that from coaching and speaking, and somebody can learn from my bad behaviors and my mistakes, then I've fulfilled my purpose.
I love that. Now you got a birthday coming up next week, and you're talking about that. And that's exciting, because I love that you're like, you don't have anything to prove, but I always say then you still do have things to prove in the sense of like there's people that are counting on you and your gifts. And I know we love Roy Vaden and Ed Milet have said this too, like you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. And I'm thinking that quote always comes up, but when you're sharing that, I'm going, well, now you get to go serve all these people because you've been through it. And you're like, hey, I would have done this different. Hey, look out for this when it comes here.
That's right.
And I say, if you haven't been through that kind of HELL world in that season, it's hard to go help other people through it.
That's right.
When you haven't experienced it. So what do you take if you've gone through the coaching, I always think about this is, are there common themes in the high performers? Because I always love to learn, like, what are those people that you got to coach that are performing really high, regardless of the market, regardless of what's happening externally? What were some of the things that you got to witness and see of how are the top performers staying at the top?
I think they build relationship-based businesses, right? I think they have a coach or a mentor that keeps them accountable. Accountability is everything, right? Most of us have the knowledge. It's very easy to get. It's very free on the internet. I mean, you can get everybody's opinion, but it's the accountability that changes our lives, right? And I learned that when I was working 80 hours a week and super unhealthy and, overweight and burned out. And it was like, if I'm going to make a change, I got to be accountable to show up at the gym. I got up at 3:45 a.m. for 5 years.
Wow.
And 5 days a week and met a trainer 3 days a week and had to get my life back on track. If I'm going to be the best me and be a good example for my kid and my family and my followers, my team members, I got to be better, right? Yeah. So I think, accountability is key for these big performers. Somebody always saying, I think you can do one more rep. I think you can make one more call. We were talking about my coach, and she has got me super uncomfortable right now. I laugh all the time with her. I'm like, boy, it's weird being a student again, after being the coach for so long. And but I love the accountability. I think another common thread for us is that we like to be challenged. And none of us like to be comfortable. I jokingly say I was retired for 3 weeks, but really I said I was going to retire and take some time off. And within 3 weeks, I started writing my book. And that was in March, and the book came out in October. I couldn't sit still. And I'm back on the road, and I love it. I love what I do, but I think we like a challenge. So making these big sales calls right now, reaching out to Brian Covey saying, I'm coming to Nashville, let's talk. That's not something I've done for a really long time. I've taught people how to do it, but she's challenging me to do that, my coaches. And so I would say that's probably three things that high producers keep going, relationships, accountabilities, and then challenges.
That's so good. When you say that, I always think too of seasons of my life that I've done the best was when somebody in my life challenged me. I had that, I was telling you, with my coach Ben last year, and it was in fitness and my health. And he's like, I remember asking him, it was this crazy goal. And I was like, dude, do you think it's possible? He's like, yeah, it is. Like, why wouldn't you go after that? If that's what you want to go do. And it was this challenge, like, well, you need to get here by here, this point by this point. And we just kind of mapped it out, and it got clear. When you talk about the challenges, I would love to know your perspective, because being a coach and now being coached, and shout out to Amberly out there, by the way, because she's one of our good friends. And I love coaches like that. How did you know you got the right coach? I always think about this for people, and they ask me this, is like, who's the right coach for me, and how do I know I'm getting the right coach, and all this stuff. And a lot of times I'm like, well, one, you just need a coach. Let's just start there.
Right.
A coach is going to be better than not, and we can help you figure out the best. But how did you know what you needed, or did you find that out going through the process?
So a couple of things. When I found my first coach, the reason I went there is because they were doing what I wanted to do. I was not there yet, and I knew if they could share their challenges or their systems or their procedures of how they got there, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I can just go tag onto them. They can teach me, and I can get there faster, right? The learning curve. And so I knew at that point my coach would always be in the business, right? My personal trainer that I hired when I was unfit, he was a guy, and he was ripped and cut, and I knew he was not going to let me call in sick or mail it in. He was a beast. And so I think when you're looking for a coach, look for somebody who is where you want to be or has already gone past that can help you get there. And then maybe you need a different coach to get to the next level. The other thing is value, for me, is a big word. And in everything we do, we're all looking for a better value. The cheapest coach is not always the best.
No.
And so as you make more money, be willing to invest in a better experience as a coach, right? We want our clients, realtor, lender, whoever's watching this, we want to create a great experience for our clients. So why don't we expect a better experience for ourselves when it comes to coaching? And so when I left my coaching position, I was like, I'm going to take a year off and I'm going to, do whatever. And I knew at some point in time I would have another coach. I didn't really know what that coach would help me with because I really didn't know what my next season was going to look like other than I was going to write this book. And I really wrote it for myself. And God's blessed me with a bestseller, so I'm grateful for that. But I didn't know what I didn't know at that point. So I started doing a little bit of research, and I found several that I didn't want. I knew there were people out there that couldn't get me to where I wanted, or I'd already surpassed them. And it would have been easy to sign up with somebody and ride some, hang out and have a friend. But I need somebody who's going to push me and give me deadlines. And I am super uncomfortable in coaching right now. And I didn't build my business in social media. I'm about 10 years behind that. And Amberly obviously has built her career a lot on social media. And so she has pushed me and challenged me and all the things. But I would just say, don't look for the cheapest. Look for somebody who is or has already been where you want to go and cut that learning curve in half.
Yes.
Right? You get what you pay for. I
agree. And when you said that too, I was thinking, with Ben, that was it. Like he was there in many areas, like on the coaching side, but then the fitness side. And it was just such a perfect, I always say like God puts those people in your life. Cause I'm like,
100%.
Hey man, I don't have anybody that's close to my age, that's that competitive like me, that is doing the things. And I'm like, so how'd you do it? What did you do? And when you're sharing that, I'm thinking for anybody out there listening is if they've already done it, they're going to tell you, hey, this is what you need to do over here. These things, like you may hear it on social, you may see it. This isn't going to get you there. Mm-hmm. This is all hype and it's not there. Well, okay, let's shift gears because you've been talking about your book, which is awesome, released last October, Embrace, Empower, Evolve. And I love this because like your resilience and some of your stories that you share in here, I'm like, people may not even know these stories. But let's talk about this is why did you write the book?
Initially, I wrote it for myself. I'm an avid journaler, have been for years. I mean, one of the stories in there that people don't know about me is I was married young and to an abusive addict. And went through my divorce and didn't know what side, who I could talk to and who I couldn't, and found myself being disappointed. And so I started journaling. And so I have journaled for the last 30 plus years. And I always said, if I ever write a book, I want to teach people how to journal. People ask me that all the time. A lot of people talk to us about our morning routine. And I know you're a big morning routine person as I am. And that's part of my word dump in the morning is clearing out whatever's bothering me or distracting me so I can be more profitable and productive during the day. And so people say to me, how'd you get started in journaling? What do you write about? And I'm like, it started for me as a safe place. Nobody could judge me there. Mm-hmm. I was going through my own issues of, oh my gosh, I'm a divorcee. I'm super young. Why didn't I see the red flags? All the things, right? And it was a place I could do a word dump with no judgment. And it was safe. And from there, now I journal about celebrations, I journal prayer requests, I journal about other people, I journal about whatever. And so I knew if I wrote a book, I wanted somehow to marry my journal, my passion for that together. Yeah. And so I thought, well, it'll be two different books. I also know my audience, the people that follow me, we all have an attention span about this long. Yep. So I was not going to write a big, thick book. So I'm like, I want to get in, make a point, give them a journaling prompt and move on. So the whole book is 112 pages. I just recorded it on Audible, so it should be coming out just any day. So if you follow me on social media, we'll release the link because most of us are in our cars driving around from appointment to appointment. But I wrote it really for myself, not knowing if I would ever do anything with it. And then I got brave and hired a publisher and said, is this worth putting out? And she was super supportive and said, yes, I think there's a great arena for this. And so we put it out, and it's exceeded all expectations. Of course, the night before it releases, you have those, and you've written books, so you understand. You're like, what if nobody reads it? Or what if somebody attacks me? And you just have to believe in your heart that you did the right thing. And so I just hope that people would learn something. They, like I said, cut down the learning curve, learn to journal, whatever, that could help them. And so that's really why I wrote it, just to pay it forward.
I love that. And people that don't journal, I've gone to it several times when tough decisions, or like you said, just to write down many times the wins and just talk about where do you want to go. And it is a safe spot to go. This is what I'm doing. This is where I want to go. And almost like declaration. But I love that you went through, for anybody that's thinking, is my book going to matter? Is my story going to matter? All this. I hear this oftentimes and everybody thinks, oh, well, Kendra's just different. Just, she wrote her book and she has these great stories and all these things. For somebody that's thinking about writing their book, what encouragement or advice would you give them?
Do it. I mean, really, know what your purpose is behind the book. And like I said, initially it was for me. And then I realized that might be a gift for other people. And so paying it forward, being a good connector for people to have a conversation. We were just in the front lobby and the book came up, and then it was like, oh, my wife would love that. She journals. I was like, oh, I got it. Right. And so again, why shy away from your fears? If it's not the best success that you want it to be, you still learn something in the experience. Yeah. So I would encourage it. It's not near as expensive as you think. You can self-publish it. There's so many options out there that you can take your own picture, upload it. You can record your own book for free and upload it. I was fortunate enough that I had somebody to help me publish it and get me through the learning curve of that, but you don't have to. So I wouldn't stop just because of the fear.
I love that. Tough question, being an author. I've had people ask me this, and I always love to know, what was your favorite story and chapter that you got to write in here?
Wow, there's a couple in there. I would say that my favorite is Your Name. I referenced that a little bit earlier. I was taught at a young age, you come in with nothing into this world and you leave with nothing. And there's the poem out there, The Dash, like what's going to matter between the day you're born and the day you pass. And I just have always wanted to do the right thing. And whatever my legacy is, it doesn't have to be the best realtor or the best coach or the best mom. But if all of those things, somebody has something good to say and not negative to say, then I've lived my life the best I could. And so that is probably my favorite chapter in there. There's a lot of great stories in there that made me who I am. But if I had to pick one, I think that at the end of the day, I want my name to stand for something good.
I love that. I wondered which one you'd pick, because I'm always curious. People go through that, and it makes a lot of sense because the impact you're making now while you're doing even what you're doing. And we were talking earlier about you're still speaking on stages. You're coaching 14 and working with 14 different mortgage companies now, and sharing webinars with them and coaching, training, doing all that, which is super cool. What's next in your journey?
I don't know. Whatever Amberly tells me to do. Yeah. No, I would love to do a TED Talk. So that is on my to-do list. I started doing some women's empowerment retreats, and so I'm getting ready to host my 4th one in Orlando in March. So I try to do 2 of those every year just to help other women get out of their own way and to collaborate with like-minded women to grow. And a lot of it's self-reflection and self-enhancement and empowerment. Some work stuff does come up, but I think when we're coaching and mentoring ourselves, it shows up in our family life and our work life and our, self and that kind of stuff. So I know I'm going to stay on that journey for a while, and who knows, there might be another book somewhere down the road. I'm not opposed to it. Now that the first one's out, I'm open to writing another one, maybe a business one next time.
I think you definitely have another book in you. After reading some of this one and preparing for today, I was like, oh yeah. Because you have the stories, you have the experience, you have the lessons, you have the wisdom that I always think about all the people now that are coming up, and regardless of their age, wherever they are in their career, like, I want to do that. Like, who can I learn from that you did? And we were talking about this earlier. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up and have your insights. Is you've done it all, and you talked about even in the 90s, you had the one-stop shop. And I know a lot of our listeners, mortgage, real estate, financial services, and we were talking about this and where the industry's going in mortgage. And you have a unique insight and perspective. But where do you think this is going with these teams and partnerships and real estate and mortgage starting to come together? I mean, Rocket's done it somewhat. You've seen other companies bringing in-house, joint venture, MSAs, all this. What's your vantage point on that? Where do you think this is going to be going?
I'm surprised it's taken it this long.
Me too.
Right?
How much have we fumbled through this for years? Let's try this. Let's try that.
If I go back to 1989, 1990, the person that I talked about earlier that really saw something in me, he was the first concept that I remember of the first stop shop. And so we got the client, we originated the loan, we wrote the insurance, we closed it at our conference room table. It was literally one building, a group of people, and we did it all. A lot different. There wasn't as much red tape back then, but it was a concept that worked in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I believe that long term, it will simplify the process for the consumer. I think by the time they go to this person and this person and this person, we're all asking for different things. And it's a very convoluted experience anyway. And when we can simplify and streamline that for people, I'm just surprised it hasn't happened before. And I know that, there's a lot of things that have to be, I's dotted and T's crossed, and I get that. But at the end of the day, if we make it easier for the consumer, we all can continue to make a great living and provide an amazing service. Listen, what we do matters. Realtors, lenders, what we do matters. I can get on a whole soapbox about I'm just a realtor. I'm like, that drives me crazy. No, you're creating American dreams for people. You are working with their biggest asset. You know more about these people than their friends do, right? Same thing on the lender side. So I think that it will raise the professionalism level for all of us and really take it to the next level. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm not on the inside anymore, but I do keep my finger on the pulse. I still have my license here in Tennessee for referral and to stay educated. If I'm going to speak about things, I want to know what's up and coming. So I'm excited to continue this conversation in the years ahead and see where it goes. But I'm excited.
I can't wait. We'll be calling you because I believe this is where it's going. And my former company mentor, trying to create this one-stop shop, and we actually had parts of it going. But to your point, it's been clunky for decades, like 20 plus years I've been in the business. And I think we're now just emerging. Like, everybody's talking about tech. I actually think this is going to be not as big as some of the AI and the tech coming out, but in the sense of that one-stop shop that consumers are demanding, they want. We actually have a model that I know we've developed, but other companies are trying to figure out, how do you bring all that together so it does create the experience. And I looked the other day, and Kendra, it blew my mind, the average age of a first-time home buyer is up to almost 38.
That's sad. It shouldn't be that way.
And I believe it's because information, and then a true guide, right, on the real estate side and the lender to show them, here's your path. And yeah, it may not be this year, but if you're 25 and I can give you a 2-year plan, even a 5-year plan, I go, we break the statistic, we break the mold of what's being told out there. And I know you're passionate about it. So before we wrap, anything you would share on that? Because I know we share this passion of, I want people to be informed like we were young, to know like this is the route you should go. Get with somebody that can help you.
Absolutely. And there's a whole chapter in the book about money matters, right? And we talked about this earlier. I think that self-employed and entrepreneurs, I love that. I love that spirit. That's who I am, have been since I was 18. And I think that as realtors, lenders, all of us, we need to share the message about get right with your money early on. Teach kids how to do personal budget. Stop living on credit cards. Help them get out of debt so they can buy houses younger. One of my most proud moments in that book is the fact that I have a son that lives here in Nashville and went away to grad school, came back, got a job, and was able to buy his first home. But he's been doing a budget since he was a kid. Like, he lived on a cash allowance, and what he didn't spend, he saved and invested it. And so my husband and I didn't have that gift growing up. And so we found ourselves in debt. And we were like, we will never allow our kids to go down that path. No disrespect to our parents, but it was never talked about in our home. It's like, that's not a faux pas. Yeah. Talk about money with your kids and help them get on the right path. So I think, yes, as parents, we can do a better job. As professionals in different industries, don't shy away from a money conversation with your kids, with your friends, with your family. And I think we can do a better job as a whole to help people money. I'm not shy to talk about money or share all my weaknesses and my strengths to help somebody else. So
that was one of my favorite chapters, by the way. I'm glad you brought it up, because I think that conversation, once it starts occurring more, and I had a friend tell me this. He's like, it's almost disrespectful not to talk about money now with your kids. Like, it was taboo back in the day. And it's like, now if you don't tell them, who's going to teach them?
That's right.
And so another reason, grab the book. If you're watching this, guys, we'll put the link in there. Kendra, thank you. I know we could talk about a million things, but I love your spirit, what you've done. And I know this is going to inspire people to go on their own journey and take whatever next step is in their life. So
thank you for what you're doing too, and having me here today.
Hey, this is what we do together. I say collective impact, and the things that we get to share and the stories connect people, and they'll see some of their story within yours and go, oh, that's me, or I've been there, or I'd like to be there,
right?
Possibly. And that's the way the world gets better.
Love it.
So thank you.
You too.
Well, guys, it's been another edition of Competitive Edge Podcast. I hope you got to hear not only Kendra's just energy and her passion for what she's doing, the different seasons of her life. That I always say is, no matter where you are, there's always a next season for you. And I would just encourage you and challenge you. What is that next season for you? You don't have to wait for a new year. You don't have to wait for a new quarter. You don't have to wait for somebody to come tell you what to do. what is your next move? What is the next thing you want to do? And you think either God's put that on your heart or you have that dream in yourself. Listen back, because there's some things Kendra shared about relationships. She talked about, attracting versus actually going after and chasing what we might think success or business might be. I want you to listen through the mentors and coaches and what they've done in her life. And that could be you as you look to move forward and have more success in your life in all areas. That's why we do the show. That's why we bring you great guests every week to make sure that you're maximizing your success and your impact. So make sure you like, subscribe, share this with a friend. That's how the word gets out with people. Leave us a review. We're working really hard this year to get those reviews up. I have a very large personal goal to get another 100 reviews this year plus. And so if you're one of those, help us do that. Share it with people you care about, because I know Kendra's story and the book, one more plug, is going to help people. So make sure you go on there and give it to somebody that you know will benefit. So appreciate you guys tuning in every week, and we will catch you on the next episode. See ya.